Hello guys, good morning everybody. Welcome to Raj Malhotra IAS. I hope I am audible and visible to you guys. If I am audible and visible, just let me know. Just let me know in the comment box if I am audible and visible. Good morning everybody. Kanika Krishnamurthy, so Vin Pooja ji. एक बार बता दीजिए कि मैं audible and visible हूँ, then we can start the class. Okay, thank you so much Kanika. Right. So, today I think you can see the front page news. Surat court grants bail to Rahul, suspend sentence. If I talk about this particular matter, now this is a particular regular thing that has happened, that they have suspended the sentence and he has applied for the bail and he has got the bail. But the major thing is related to his conviction, that he was convicted of a criminal defamation. Now that has to be seen, and that is the matter that this particular court would be hearing on the next day that has been allotted for the Rahul Gandhi. I think everyone is aware that Rahul Gandhi has been subjected to criminal defamation under section 499 of Indian Penal Code. And one thing I want to tell you guys, that these type of now provisions are very important from your examination point of view. Just you have to remember one thing, the various things that are associated with this criminal defamation case that has been awarded to Rahul Gandhi. Various judgments are important and certain sections are very important. Like section 499 deals with, let's say, defamation. This deals with punishment with relation to defamation. If I talk about the case of Rahul Gandhi, then we have the famous judgment of Limley Thomas case 2013. जस्ट रिवीजन है एक लिए आपके लिए, ताकि आपको एक रिवाइज हो जाए कि ये चीजें इसके अंदर इंक्लूडेड होती हैं, राइट. देन वी हैव सेक्शन 83 ऑफ रिप्रेजेंटेशन ऑफ पीपल्स एक्ट, एंड देन वी हैव सेक्शन 84 ऑफ द रिप्रेजेंटेशन ऑफ पीपल एक्ट. These are the important provisions, these are the important judgments, and these are the important sections that we have to remember in this whole matter of Rahul Gandhi. That is a criminal defamation case, that is the Indian Penal Code, then there is the Representation of People's Act, and then we have the Lily Thomas judgment. Right now, moving to the next part, nothing important over here. वैसे ही क्वेश्चंस चल रहे हैं. China plans to rename 11 places in Arunachal. Now, this is not the first time China is trying to attempt to do such a thing, that is renaming the areas that is basically coming under the territorial integrity of the Indian country, right? But one thing we have to remember, that they have done it in the past as well, and there has been no such response from the Indian authorities in relation to these particular renaming of the 11 places. And in this new map, they have mentioned Arunachal Pradesh as Zhangnan. Very important, they have mentioned it as Zhangnan. Now, this is the important thing that we have to remember in the context of China renaming the places in Arunachal, and this thing becomes very clear about the ambitions that are there of the China, that they claim Arunachal Pradesh to be the part of their territory. So, it is, yes, it is a alarming news, it is a very serious matter, because there are a lot of border disputes that are there between India and China, starting from the Ladakh region and then moving from here to Arunachal Pradesh and Sikkim. So, these are the areas of the bone of the contention, and this is basically our area, that is basically under our territory, and China tries to, let's say, change or try to mend the status quo that has been already established. Now, there is nothing important over here, right? कोई इतना important नहीं है. Okay. Now, this is a very important news if you guys are studying from a GS paper 3 point of view and GS paper 4 point of view, that is the ethics paper. Now, here the matter is related to this garbage dump. I think everyone would be able to understand it now, that this is the area of garbage dump that was recast into a lush mini forest. So, here the whole thing is how this particular garbage dump was created into a lush mini forest. One thing we have to understand, that this is the matter when we talk about waste management, right? This is the matter of the, let's say, if we talk about of the municipalities at the local level. If they are able to do this thing in a very brilliant manner, that is managing the waste, then these type of results are possible. But in this whole context, because there was the need, let's say, to create a mini forest, here the State Biodiversity Board of Kerala played a very important role. Now this is a new, let's say, body that is making its headlines into this particular editorial, that is saying State Biodiversity Board. Now if I talk about state biodiversity boards, they are the bodies that have been formed under the Biological Diversity Act 2002. So this is the important news that I wanted to tell you guys, that if you have to do certain things, because there would be a lot of case studies that basically comes कि let's say there is a area of waste, right? जैसे कि यहाँ पे हम देख रहे हैं कि वेस्ट गार्बेज डंप है, तो उसको आप कैसे सेटल कर सकते हो, कैसे आप उसको क्लियर कर सकते हो. सो दीज आर द इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट्स दैट यू हैव टू रिमेंबर. यू कैन मेक अ लेट्स से you can create a, let's say, line of action that is with the help of the state biodiversity boards and with the help of municipalities. That was done in this particular scenario. The State Biodiversity Act, if we talk about Biological Diversity Act 2002, it created the formation of National Biodiversity Authority at the center, State Biodiversity Board at the state levels, and Biodiversity Management Committees at the local level. So this is a 3-tier distribution that is there if we talk about various biodiversity bodies: National Biodiversity Authority at the center, State Biodiversity Boards at the state, and Biodiversity Management Committees at the local level. This is very important because we have seen a UPSC mains question that has directly come on this Biological Diversity Act 2002. And if we talk about this, basically news article is just an application or an extension of the application that how in reality we have to make use of biodiversity boards and municipalities in, let's say, bringing such a revolution where you are creating a garbage dump into a lush mini forest, right? So this was the important news that I wanted to tell you over here, and the role played by the state biodiversity boards. Now moving to the next part. अब ये आर्टिकल्स कोविड-19 डेटा के रिलेटेड है, अभी फिलहाल के लिए इतना इंपॉर्टेंट नहीं है. This article is related to cow vigilante, right? That has been going on, let's say, more so in the BJP ruled states, and that is basically talking about this particular scenario, that basically Karnataka police must act with elasticity in bringing murderers to the book who have, let's say, gone for the lynching. They should be booked under the various sections, right? So nothing that much important over here. That article is related to Finland. I think वहाँ पे government change होने वाली है, right? Leadership is gonna change. Earlier it was Sanna Marin that was the head of the Finland state, but now the leader is gonna be changed in the state of the Finland. Now the important editorial that we're gonna discuss today is time to put a price on carbon emissions. See, everyone knows that we at this particular stage are very skeptic about the increase in carbon dioxide emissions. We have a target under Paris Agreement where we are trying to reduce the climate change increase to 1.5 degree. This was the deal that was signed up in the Paris Agreement in 2016. Now each and every country is trying to reduce its carbon emissions, right? There are various targets that have been set up by the individual countries, and they are following that particular path in order to reduce the emissions. This article talks about 3 methods through which you can reduce the carbon emissions. ये बता रहा है कि 3 मेथड्स आप यूज कर सकते हैं कार्बन एमिशंस को कम करने के लिए. Now this is the important thing that we have to understand from this particular editorial. What are those 3 important things that we can use, let's say, in reducing the carbon emissions? पहला है that you can levy a tax called carbon tax. This is basically on the amount of carbon that would be emitted, let's say, from the usage of fossil fuels. You can levy carbon tax on the industries that are basically emitting certain carbon emissions above a certain level. IMF बोलता है कि इंडिया जैसी कंट्री है ना, अगर एक लिमिट के बाद कार्बन एमिशंस हो रही हैं, दे शैल बी लेवाइंग अ टैक्स ऑफ $25 per ton. So this is their estimate that has been given according to IMF, that you have to put a price on the carbon emissions, and one of the method that you can use is carbon tax. The second method that they are trying to say is ETS method, that is emission trading system. Now this is the method that has been applicable in European Union, very important. This is the method that has been applicable in European Union. Now, what is this whole game related to this particular method? This particular method says if any industry or any, let's say, individual who is involved in a certain business is emitting emissions above a certain level, let's say this is the allowed limit, let's say 500 units for the carbon dioxide. If anyone is emitting beyond this level, let's say there are two players that are the major players. One has emitted 400 units, one has emitted 600 units. Now, he is able to save 100 units and he has overspent 100 units. This 100 units can be traded from this person to this person and he has to pay the price for this extra 100 units. Now, this is the second method that has been investigated by this particular editorial, that is the emission trading system. And one thing you have to understand, that this is the process that is already applicable in the countries like European Union. So, this is the second method that is very, very important. The third method that is now reaching the shores of European Union is carbon border adjustment mechanism. That is basically there because under this method, companies were feeling that those who were, let's say, producing in Europe, they are paying extra taxes, because in this European Union only, when you are emitting beyond a certain limit, you have to pay the taxes. But that is not the case in developing countries, as there is no such law. Let's say अगर हम बात करते हैं, ऐसा कोई लॉ किसी और कंट्री में तो नहीं है. तो कंट्रीज अगर हम बात करें, इन कंपनीज जो इन कंट्रीज में है वो सोच रही थी कि हम अपना बेस किसी और कंट्री में शिफ्ट कर देते हैं. बट टू मेक श्योर दैट द कंपनीज डू नॉट मूव अवे फ्रॉम देयर रीजन, EU came up with the new concept of carbon border adjustment mechanism, where when any importer in their union is importing something from outside, they have to make sure that the process involved in the making of that product was able to contain the carbon emissions. जैसे यहां पे था कि वहां पे अगर कोई चीज, मान लो कोई प्रोसेस यूज हो रहा है, जो कोई प्रोडक्ट बन रहा है और यूरोपियन यूनियन के अंदर एक्सपोर्ट होके आ रहा है और यूरोपियन यूनियन इंपोर्ट कर रहा है, वहां पे उनको मेक श्योर करना पड़ेगा कि वो जो चीज आ रही है उसमें भी कार्बन एमिशंस कम हो रही है. अगर कार्बन एमिशंस कम नहीं है, ज्यादा है, लिमिट से ज्यादा, तो उन इंपोर्टर्स को भी टैक्स पे करना पड़ेगा. So, these are the three methods that are very, very important from our examination point of view. One is the carbon tax, one is the ETS system, and one is the carbon border adjustment mechanism. And this is a particular question that could be expected in UPSC 2023 because it has made a lot of news in the previous months. Now, this article talks about better way for India would be to go for this particular method, that is the carbon tax. But it comes with a lot of difficulties. It comes with a lot of, let's say, meanders, because one thing we have to understand, that in a country like India where there is a dependence on fossil fuels, you have to make sure that there is need to be a political will as well in various corners of the country. Otherwise, we have seen the scenarios in various countries around the world where such taxes have been introduced, but they have been taken off by the government after a certain period of time. So, these are the important things that we have to understand from our examination point of view. Right? Chaliye. Moving to the next part, why India should cut down its salt intake. Now, one of the very important thing that we have to understand that this article talks about is, कि if I talk about the daily intake of sodium which has to be there, that has been recommended according to World Health Organization, it has to be less than 5 gram. Very important. भाई WHO बोलता है कि अडल्ट्स के लिए जो डेली इंटेक होना चाहिए वो कितना होना चाहिए, इट शैल बी लेस देन द 5 ग्राम. इफ वी आर कंज्यूमिंग मोर सोडियम और मोर सॉल्ट इंटेक, what are the various repercussions that we could be facing? The major repercussion is related to increase in blood pressure, first of all, increase in cardiovascular diseases, second part, and the third important thing is, if these problems are happening, let's say increase in blood pressure, increase in cardiovascular diseases, then it would have a direct impact on the economic aspect as well. क्योंकि आपको रिस्क ज्यादा बढ़ जाएगा, आपको ज्यादा ट्रीटमेंट लेने की जरूरत पड़ेगी और आपको उतना ही डॉक्टर्स के पास ज्यादा विजिट करना पड़ेगा और उसका इकोनॉमिक इंपैक्ट भी देश को सफर करना पड़ेगा. So these are the three important things that we have to understand that results in the over usage of the sodium. But if I talk about the context of India, there have been a lot of movements, consumer awareness programs that have been going on that basically tries to make sure that India doesn't consume more than the required intake of the sodium or the salt. Like there has been the movement of the FSI, that is the Eat Right India, very important, which strives to transform the nation food system to ensure secure, healthy and sustainable nutrition for all citizens. In line with this goal, FSI launched a social media campaign like आज से थोड़ा कम. ठीक है, these things are very very important because these makes a perception in your mind, leave a lasting impression when you are able to hear such particular news. So these are the type of campaigns that you have to understand, could be used in your mains answer as well, like Eat Right India campaign and आज से थोड़ा कम, that we have to make sure that yes, there has to be the concentration of salt in our body, but it doesn't have to be a way beyond the limit that has been prescribed by the WHO. Otherwise, these are the important fatal results that we would be able to see in our lifetime. Right? Okay. Moving to the next part, this is related to Scottish independence, not yet important for India. So we're going to skip this article. This is related to defamation of law. Basically, we have already discussed, that is the whole Rahul Gandhi case that is coming now a lot these days. Finally, when his let's say for the sake of the particular party, his conviction is suspended. ठीक है, मैं किसी को फेवर नहीं करता हूं, ना कि मैं किसी को प्रमोट करता हूं. राइट, यू मस्ट हैव सीन फ्रॉम माय let's say my way of delivering as well that I don't promote any political party, but it's just the way the circumstances are there. Let's say he needs to be, let's say, for the sake of the party. Right? Okay. Now this is a very interesting news. Just 9.3% of loans under Pradhanmantri Swanidhi given to vendors from minority communities. Now one thing we have to understand that during the COVID pandemic, there were a lot of schemes that were introduced by the government for the various vulnerable sections. One of that vulnerable section that was very very important was the street vendors. For them, the capital was, let's say, to have the capital or to have the money to, let's say, invest in their business became very very important. So government came with a particular scheme जिसका नाम था PM स्वनिधि. ये भी बड़ी इंपॉर्टेंट स्कीम है इस बार के यूपीएससी के लिए. राइट, सो पीएम स्वनिधि स्कीम वाज लॉन्च्ड वेयर इट वाज डिसाइडेड दैट फॉर द फर्स्ट ईयर दैट दिस स्ट्रीट वेंडर्स वुड बी गिवन द कैपिटल ऑफ 10,000 rupees एंड इफ दे आर एबल टू मेक द पेमेंट्स ऑन टाइम, लेट्स से अगर वो पेमेंट्स टाइम पे करते हैं तो उनको इंटरेस्ट सब्सिडी भी दी जाएगी. So this was the major, if I could say, major remarkable thing regarding this particular scheme, that there was interest subsidy, initial loan of 10,000, and if you are able to do the payments in time, then for the second year you would be eligible for the 20,000 loan, and if you are able to replicate this as well, that is timely payments in their second year, then you are eligible for the 50,000 loan for the third year. So these are the three important things that we have to understand कि ये स्ट्रीट वेंडर्स के लिए स्कीम चलाई गई थी. इनिशियल लोन 10,000 था, इंटरेस्ट सब्सिडी इंटरवेंशन इसके अंदर दी जाती है. Now the question over here the article wants to say is 9.3% of loan has been from the minority communities. Now this is a very interesting figure where we are able to see that minority communities have not been able to check in the facility of Swanidhi program. And along with it, very interesting news that this article presents is the Uttar Pradesh has disbursed maximum number of loans as compared to Sikkim. This is just in a way we can say जैसे हमारा population है उसके हिसाब से अगर हम देखें तो उसी तरह से देखने को मिला है where the major proportion has gone from Uttar Pradesh to the vendors and very less has gone from the Sikkim. But one thing that is being highlighted is कि minority communities को लोन क्या मिले हैं, बहुत ज़्यादा कम मिले हैं. Clear? Now India-US air exercise to begin next week, Japan took the observer. Now we know there are a lot of exercises, bilateral or multilateral or trilateral, that goes on between the various countries. It could be an army exercise, it could be a navy exercise, it could be a air force exercise. Now one thing we have to understand that India and US air forces gonna meet in the COPE India exercise, very important. Now their exercise is named as the COPE India exercise. Now one thing we have to understand that if I talk in the context of India, USA Australia and Japan, there is a very famous naval exercise. I think everyone is aware of that. The name of that particular exercise is the Malabar exercise. Initially, India and USA were a part of this Malabar exercise. Then Japan was made a part of this exercise. And finally, Australia was made part of this Malabar exercise, keeping in line that we all are part of the Quad Security Dialogue. Clear hai itni baat? Now, PM receives appreciation letters for Kashi Tamil Sangam. अब ये ना बड़ी इंटरेस्टिंग चीज है, कुछ महीने पहले एक संगम हुआ था, काशी तमिल संगम, वेयर साइंटिस्ट, स्टूडेंट्स, स्कॉलर्स फ्रॉम बोथ दिस पर्टिकुलर एरियाज ऑफ काशी एंड तमिल विजिटेड ईच अदर, had an interaction with each other and got to know about the glorious past of these two particular areas of the Indian soil. So these are very, very important, and on the lines of these, the government has tried to make sure that it would organize more and more संगम्स as well, right? वो हमने पिछले एक दो सेशन पहले डिस्कस किया था कि गवर्नमेंट कोशिश कर रही है कि और भी गुजरात से संगम हो तमिल के बीच में, so that the people are aware that they had a very important ancient links with these particular areas. So PM has received a lot of appreciation letters for this Kashi Tamil Sangam. Okay. अब यहां पे सारा अगर हम बात करें पॉलिटिकल न्यूज है तो हम इसको स्किप कर सकते हैं, राइट? गवर्नमेंट हैव इनफ वैक्सीन स्टॉक, ठीक है। आई थिंक सबको पता है कि मेडिसिन के प्राइसेस अगर हम बात करें एसेंशियल ड्रग्स की, गवर्नमेंट इज सेइंग the prices of 651 essential drugs down by 6.73% from April 1. But one thing we have to understand that there were certain medicines that were the scheduled medicines where a particular decision had come that their dates have been revised according to the wholesale price index, right? So that is a very important news that you guys have to understand, that there are scheduled drugs and there are the non-scheduled drugs. These are the two important things that we have to understand, scheduled drugs and non-scheduled drugs. The pricing of the scheduled drugs is being done by the National Pharmaceutical Pricing Authority and the prices are revised according to the wholesale price index. This is a very important thing that इनके prices कैसे होते हैं wholesale price index से. And if I talk about non-scheduled drugs, their prices are revised every year but not according to this any wholesale or anything like that. These prices are revised, let's say 10% every year, right? So this is the interesting thing that we have to understand about the scheduled drugs, about the non-scheduled drugs, about the pricing pattern. And whatever be the prices that would be changed, it would be changed according to the Drug Prices Control Order 2013, right? Okay, moving to the next part. Philippines allot 4 military bases to US troops. I think everyone could make a sense of this particular news, why Philippines is trying to allot more military bases. Why? Because there are a lot of problems that are going from the China side in the South China Sea. So they want to give more access to US. So it is a basically we could say it is a part of agreement that was being signed between 2014, that is the Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement. Very important. Which agreement gives the military base access of Philippines to USA? It is the Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement of 2014. You can write this as well because these are the important MCQs. I can say that 2014 agreement of Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement give the military bases to the United States of America, right? Okay, moving to the next part. अब हर बार न्यूज आती है मैन्युफैक्चरिंग पीएमआई बढ़ गया, कोर सेक्टर बढ़ गया, है ना, हमने बहुत बार डिस्कस कर लिया है, मैं बार बार इसको डिस्कस नहीं करूंगा, बस पता होना चाहिए कि इसका डेटा को कौन देता है, एसएनपी देता है और उसकी भी एक ब्रांच होती है आईएचएस मार्केट जो बेसिकली डेटा प्रोवाइड करता है मैन्युफैक्चरिंग पीएमआई का और सर्विसेज पीएमआई का. ये दो चीजें इंपॉर्टेंट है, मैन्युफैक्चरिंग पीएमआई एंड द सर्विसेज पीएमआई, दैट इज द परचेजिंग मैनेजर इंडेक्स. ओके, चलिए guys, and finally we are done with the today's analysis. I hope you liked the analysis, I hope you enjoyed the analysis, right? I have definitely tried to make sure that keep my analysis within 20 to let's say 26 minutes. Why? Because I don't want you waste your lot of time in reading the newspaper. I can take the session to 45 minutes as well, but that's not gonna help you guys. It's gonna create a burden because watching a 50-minute video is, let's say, a little bit of more burden as compared to a 25-minute video. If you are able to get a particular thing, let's say whole Hindu analysis in 25 minutes, then why you have to go for a 50-minute video? That is my question to you guys. थोड़ा जिंदगी में स्मार्ट वर्क करना सीखो. Go for the smart work. You don't have to go like what others are trying to do, right? Go for 50 minutes video. They are not. They are just wasting the time and let's say having a lot of things that are not very much important as well. We do the things that are very important, keep it very precise so that I do not take your more than 25 to 35 minutes, right? If there is anything important, there is a lengthy newspaper, we try to take it beyond the 30 minutes. Otherwise, I think 25 to 30 minutes are more than sufficient, more than enough in order to complete your Hindu analysis. This I can tell you because from the last 13 years, I have been reading Hindu newspaper, right? So I know how you can quickly cover the Hindu newspaper and what are the important things that you have to go through and what are the non-important things that you have to skip through, right? Okay. Anyone has any doubt, you can ask me. Otherwise, I'm going to end the session for you guys and let you enjoy the rest of the day, right? अच्छा, चलो बढ़िया। और मेरी आवाज ठीक होगी थोड़ी पहले से, ये बता दो एक बारी। थोड़ी बेटर लग रही है? हफ्ते से खराबी चल रही थी, है ना? चलो चलो, thank you so much guys, take care, bye bye, I will see you tomorrow same time 9 AM. till then please like, share and subscribe, right? हम लिख देते हैं पर एक बार आज मैं पहली बार बोल रहा हूं कि इसको सब्सक्राइब करो, लाइक करो और अपने फ्रेंड्स में भी शेयर करो। ओके, थैंक यू।